easing your worries, as I said, just going to be on if you've got that constant worry, if you've even got just, you find there's certain times of the day that you worry more, if it's the entire day. I'm just going to go through today maybe a wee technique that you could use in your day-to-day, maybe even if you use it a couple of times a week, even if you use it just whenever you find that there's periods where you're kind of more worried maybe than others, if there's something really going on in your life that's impacting you. That's what I'm going to go through today, just a technique that you can use. So why is this not going? I'll go back on. Okay, so what I'm going to go over today then is cognitive behavioural therapy. So I'm going to go through just a wee brief understanding of that so that I can apply it then later on and show you how worrying fits in with this thing we called CBT, which is what we say is linked with stress and anxiety. So I'm briefly going to go through that. Then I'm going to go over what is worry and just really break it down. I'm sure a lot of people do know what worry is in general, but I'm going to show you the different elements of it and how it impacts you and how it does lead to those unwanted feelings and maybe that stress and anxiety. Then I'm going to go through kind of the effects of it on both your lifestyle and also kind of on your health. And then I'm going to go through then the 5 steps to easing and managing it through a technique called worry time. So if you, a few weeks back, I done kind of a workshop on routine, and this is just going to be something similar to that. So I'm going to really briefly explain what CBT is, cognitive behavioural therapy, and then I'm going to use that to show you the benefits of controlling your worry and how that will kind of help you take back control of some of the things that you want to in your life. So what I'm talking about today is linked with CBT. So that's what I work with my clients. So what we're talking about here is we look at your thoughts. So that's your ideas, your memories, your judgments, kind of what you think about yourself, what you think about the world, what you think about others. So all that stuff that goes on in your head, even anything that you're just, wee thoughts that pass by your head day to day, wee fleeting thoughts or things that you concentrate on a lot during the day. So then we talk about what you feel as well. So this is both your physical feelings, so things that you feel on your body. So that's sweating, shaking, headaches, anything like that there. And it's also your emotions. So that sadness, the happiness, that worry that we're speaking about, that anxiety. And then you have your behavior, so what you do. So all of those, how you act and how you speak to others, even what you do by yourself, what you do with others, anything that you act on day to day. And what we speak about with CBT is that all these 3 things are linked. So what you think affects how you feel and what you do. How you feel affects what you think and what you do, and what you do affects how you think and how you feel as well. And this creates a cycle, and this can either be a helpful cycle or it can be unhelpful. What we find with people who worry a lot, this is a very unhelpful cycle. And later on, I'm going to show you the difference between a constant worrier cycle and that compared to someone who's taking control of their worry, and someone who's maybe using the technique that I'm going to show you after. Okay. So what is worry? So I'm sure you're all like, God, we all know what worry is. Everyone's worried time to time, but that's what I'm going to be speaking about. So worry is a completely normal process, and we all worry to an extent at times. So everyone's experienced it. It's completely normal. But for some people, however, worrying can become a real problem within itself. So worrying too much can interfere with the person's ability to do the everyday things that they may want to do. And people who actually worry may find it hard to stop worrying, as worry makes them feel like things are under control, and that it's really useful to worry about things because then they've planned ahead and they've planned for the worst, and they know what's going to happen essentially before it happens, or so they think. So if they think that they know that the worst thing is going to happen and they've planned for it, well then that's better than if the worst thing happens and I haven't planned for it. So that's really that mindset that they have. They have to plan for the worst, which then becomes a problem. So what might you worry about? These are just a few examples. It's going to be different for every single person. It's completely dependent on what's going on in your life at the time. It's different from every person. So it could be friends. So say, for example, your friend hasn't texted you this week, or they drove by you and they didn't, wave at you or something. That might be worry about, oh God, do they like me anymore? Or, oh, they're not reaching out to me. Have I done something wrong? Or we're just not that friendly anymore and we're really slipping away from each other. That could be worries about that. It could be about work. So anything to do with, for example, presentations. It could be to do with maybe a report you have to do, something getting something done on time. And that can really then lead someone to worry constantly about that. And then that's linked with a lot of other things. So that's linked with money and everything as well. So a lot of people would find that they worry about work. Weight, whether that's being overweight or losing too much weight. That's really another thing people worry about. And then that's also linked with eating, and that's linked with sleeping, and that's a cycle of worry within itself, and worrying about your weight. So family, so that could be about your children, it could be about your mum and dad, it could be about your partner, it could be about their health. It could be about even things that they have going on. So it could be about their work, or it could be about their friends. Some people really do take on the worries of others very easily, and they really take that onto their back, and they think that it's their responsibility to worry for others. So that can be a really big thing for chronic worriers as well. Crime. So this could be even someone breaking into your house. This could be neighborhood crime. It can also be on a bigger scale, so like war and stuff. There's people who worry about that there, and that stems from sort of watching the news, and that can lead to watching the news even more. So that's another cycle. Then you have money, so that's linked with a lot of things. Often people really worry about money a lot. Where is it going to come from? How am I going to pay for this? Oh, this bill is due in 2 months. How am I going to get the money together for that? So that there's another thing, and that leaks kind of into all different areas of your life. And as I said before, it's really linked with work. Then you've got your health. So especially now with COVID, a lot of people really are worrying about health and other people's health, and that's really big right now, especially on the news. That's really on people's mind. But it can also be mental health. So stress, anxiety, it can be in itself worrying about worry. So it can, oh God, I'm worrying too much. What is this going to do about my health? So that's another cycle. And as you can see here, as I'm explaining, these things are really, it's other things all leak into it. It's completely just your own cycle is completely impacted by what's going on in your life. So watching the news might lead to further worry about COVID and about health, and then worrying about worry, and it's just one cycle. And a lot of people as well, we find worry sort of about their car, or about driving, or about things like that. So where am I going to get parked, and what's the roads going to be like, and what are other drivers going to be like? Am I going to be okay? What about if my car breaks down? So that's really worrying. But as you can see here, a lot of the stuff that I've spoke about is people thinking really far ahead into the future. So this is people planning for the worst. This is people kind of, because they're such a worrier, they're worrying really far ahead, and they're planning for the worst. So that is what we're talking about here today. I'm going to break it down and show you the different types of worry and where you might be going wrong with your thinking. So as I said, worry is a completely normal process, and we all experience it from time to time. We usually find that worry is a way that people get things done. So for example, if you weren't worried about your exams coming up, you're not going to be that inclined to revise for them. So in some cases, worry is good to get you to do things, to get you to act on things. But it's when it becomes controlling of your life then that we kind of get worried about it. So then it becomes overwhelming, and it can impact your ability to manage day to day. So there are several ways that worries are maintained. And these include avoidance or distraction. So as worry can be really distressing, it's normal for us to avoid the things which are causing us to worry, or to distract ourselves from them. So say, for example, God, the car is making a noise, and I'm worried it's going to break down, or I'm worried there's going to be something wrong with it and I'm going to have to pay this massive bill to get it fixed. So you're going to avoid the car, and you're going to, get the bus maybe and distract yourself from that so that you don't have to deal with it. But that's just putting something off. So it is as well. So that's what we say here down at 3. So putting things off. If you're worried about something, if you're worried about a presentation at work, you might phone in sick, you'll really put it off, but that just leads for you to worry for a longer period of time. So that's not very good for you either. And then we also have beliefs about worry. So as I said, that thing about I have to worry all the time. I have to think the worst case scenario, because if I'm prepared for it, if I've planned for it, then I'll be able to deal with it better than if I haven't planned for it. But most of the time, majority of the time, worst case scenario does not happen. And they've just spent however long, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could even just be a day, putting themselves through this stress, this anxiety about this worst case scenario that didn't actually happen, which then that's when it's having a toll on your life. So understanding worry. So we've got 2 main types of worries. We've got our practical ones. So these are the ones that we can act on, and are often about a current situation that you can do something about. So this is, for example, I don't have enough time to complete my work, I have a toothache, or I need to book leave for my holiday. So if you're thinking these things and these are what's worrying you, these are all things you can do something about. You can act towards to get them resolved. You can actively reduce this worry that you're experiencing. So I have a toothache, book a dentist appointment, or I need to book leave for my holiday. Well, that's something that you can go and you can do with work. It's something that you can sort out. So that's what we talk about for one of them. Then the second one is your hypothetical worries. So these are things that we don't have any control over, and things that we can't do anything about. So these are this kind of what if type of thoughts about the future and what might happen. And people who worry a lot, as I said, have a lot of hypothetical worries. So this worst case scenario thinking. So for example, what if my car breaks down? Or what about if my daughter gets lost on her way home? And then, so say for example, you also have this, here's a scenario of a hypothetical worry. It really happens to people at night a lot of the time. So you're locking up your house to go to bed at night, and you lie in the bed. There's often people who worry, God, did I turn this off? Did I turn that off? Did I lock the front door? Oh God, if I didn't lock the front door, someone might break in. Oh, if they break in, they might take this. And that leads to a really, really, really big cycle of worry and not being able to sleep. So really chronic worrying at night is something that's very big in people, but those are all hypothetical worries. So something that you can't do anything about. I know that you can go down and check the thing, but then people often then go back up to the bed and say, oh God, did I lock it properly? Or what about if I unlocked it? So this is a real big cycle there, especially at night, you'll find it. So the effects of constant worry on the body. So if you are a chronic worrier, I'm just going to explain to you now what this does to the body. This isn't anything to do with actual health related. This is all linked with stress and anxiety. So don't let this worry you. God, I said worry about, I'd say 200 times already. So when worrying becomes excessive, your mind and body go into overdrive, as you're constantly focusing on this, what might happen. And this leads to feelings of stress, high anxiety, and panic. So this is what we call fight or flight. So say, for example, this is what happens to your body whenever you're really, really anxious. And this is actually kind of an evolutionary thing. Back in olden days, this was like linked to if you were getting attacked by a tiger or a lion or something like that. What it is your body's preparing to either fight, so fight the lion, or to flight, to run away. But nowadays, that's not the case, and people aren't actually fighting off lions or anything. What they're really then worried about, or what they're anxious about, or what they're trying to get away from is stressful situations, so things that you're worried about. And whenever you go into fight or flight, a lot of things happen to your body. And this here is what are all listed down here. So we get dry mouth, we get accelerated heartbeat, fatigue, you can get headaches, you can't concentrate, you've got muscles ache and tension, you've got nausea, you're really easily agitated or irritable, so wee small things might set you off. You've got excessive sweating, shortness of breath, rapid breathing, and you've got this nervous energy and this on edge feeling that it's really hard to sit still. So all of these things happen to your body, and if you're constantly worrying all day, if you're constantly on edge about something, this fight or flight thing is happening to your body constantly, and this leads for you to feel really run down, really tired, really lethargic. It's leading you just to feel drained, and that is because your body is not designed to be like this all the time. It's not designed to be constantly in this state of fight or flight and panic. So that's what's leading you to feel drained. So that's the way that it affects the body, and that's just through stress and anxiety. So then as well, it can affect your lifestyle. So we're talking about, it might affect your relationships. Worries often become ultra sensitive to their environment and to the criticism of others. So they may see anything and anyone as a potential threat, or they might worry that they're unwanted by others. So that their example that I gave earlier, your friend drove by you and they didn't wave. That can be one thing that you might worry about then for the next week, that your friend does now not want to be your friend anymore, or something like that. So then it can also affect, interfere with your appetite. It can interfere with your habits, your sleep, and your job performance. So as I said, sleep's a really big thing that can be affected by people who are worrying. Job performance, like I said, you might put things off more. Might really affect that. Lifestyle habits, you might stop doing hobbies because you're so tired all the time from all that worrying I said that's draining you. And appetite, oftentimes people who are so worried actually lose their appetite. Or as I've said down here, many people who worry excessively are so anxiety ridden that they seek relief in harmful lifestyle habits such as overeating. So that thing that people talk about is comfort eating. So when you're stressed or when you're anxious, overeating and comfort eating is a really big thing. Cigarette smoking, so to relieve stress and anxiety, or even just using alcohol and drugs. So alcohol, people find, if they're a big worrier, might get them to sleep easier, or really takes away them thoughts and everything. But that's not helpful. It's not a healthy way to deal with this constant worry. And then actually the next day after alcohol, you might actually experience that fear of what happened the day before, what happened the night before, or it could just even be them leftover feelings of the hangover that might then lead you to feel worried about, is there something going on in my body? And you're worried then about health stuff. So that's not a healthy way to deal with this constant worry that you're engaging in. So as I said earlier, I'm going to link it to these thoughts, feelings, and behaviours. And this is an example of someone who is a chronic worrier, someone who is constantly worrying. So we'll start down here at the thoughts. You've got, so say for example, what about if my car breaks down on the way to work? And then that leads to, if I don't get to work, what about if I lose my job? And then if you say that thing I said, if I don't worry, then things are going to go wrong. And then that thought leads to, well, what about if all this worrying makes me ill and I'm always worrying and this can't be good for me? And so there's just an example of some thoughts this person might be engaging in. And then you've got your behaviours, so that constant worry that we're speaking about. Then you've got seeking reassurance from family, work and colleagues. So how am I doing? Is my performance at work okay? And you keep asking, and you're looking for that reassurance. And then that may be putting things off. So if it is a work presentation or something, and you're worried about it, oh God, is this good enough? Do you think this is good enough? Okay, it's not right yet. Okay, I'm gonna, put it off maybe another week to be able to do that. So then this is leading to physical feelings and emotions. So that sweating that we're talking about, being really anxious and disturbed sleep, even pins and needles in your body. You're really irritated really easily, agitated really easily, and you've got increased headaches and you're feeling not really tired. But say, for example, this here seeking reassurance from family and work colleagues. If you're constantly seeking reassurance, you might have thoughts of, oh God, am I annoying them? And or maybe they don't want to speak to me about this anymore, and maybe I shouldn't be asking them all this. So that's going to lead back to behaviours then of, God, okay, I'm not going to speak to them for a while. I'm going to avoid them because I've annoyed them too much. I'm going to avoid them. So then that's a behaviour of avoidance. Leads to feelings of isolation, leads to feelings of being alone, which leads then back to worrying of being alone and being isolated. So it's a big cycle that just goes round and round, and it is really unhelpful, and it is feeding itself. So it's you contributing to this cycle yourself, and you engaging in the behaviours and thinking these thoughts that's leading to this cycle to keep on going, which, as you can see, it sounds exhausting. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So what about if someone has taken control of their worry? So you have these thoughts of what you want to do is you want to be thinking in the moment rather than thinking into the future, thinking of the worst case scenario, just thinking in the here and now. And it's then thoughts, I don't need to think about things that make me unhappy. So I don't need to think about these what ifs. I don't need to think about in the future. And it's that thought, I'm doing what I can to control my practical worries. That is enough. So I know I can't control my hypothetical worries. I know there's nothing I can do about them, but I'm doing what I can for my practical worries, and that's enough. So behaviours, so they're using the worry time techniques that I'm going to show you next, and they're controlling their worry, and they're keeping a worry diary. They've got healthier relationships, so they're not asking for that reassurance all the time. They're not worried or avoiding people because they think that they're avoiding them. They're more productive, they're getting more things done, they're able to concentrate, and they're successfully dealing with the practical worries. So as I said before, they're doing what they can for their practical ones. And then this is leading to physical feelings of feeling more relaxed, more in control, they're happier, they're more energized. So that's linked with both not having that fight or flight feeling the whole time, not being anxious the whole time, but also it's linked with that better sleep. So they're not sitting up till all hours worrying the whole time. They're not waking up early because they're worried, and that's a lot more healthier for them. So how to ease and manage your worry. So this is the technique I'm going to teach you now. So after now I've successfully made you worry about all of your worry, I'm going to teach you how to ease and manage it. So these are the techniques that you can take away with you. And I think that it's very simple, and it's something that you can give it a go. It'll be something that's very easy to start, and a lot of people find that once they start it, it becomes part of their kind of life for a while, until they're able to control their worries without even doing it anymore. So it's called worry time. And it's a set period of time each day allocated to worrying. So I know that this sounds like what you're telling me to sit down and to worry. I thought that this whole PowerPoint was about getting me to stop worrying. Well, no, just hear me out. So when we're worrying throughout the day, what worry time aims to do is to get that worry that you're engaging in all day just confined to one small time. So instead of doing it the whole day, you're saying to yourself, I'm only going to worry for 30 minutes later on. So I'm going to leave all my worrying until then. Now, I know this sounds easier said than done, but that's what I'm going to go through now. So when we worry during the day, instead of focusing on the worries, we postpone them for our allotted worry time. So worry time is a technique to help to reduce the impact of your worrying, to solve the practical problems, so the things that you can actually do something about, and allow us to enjoy our day-to-day lives. So make more use out of the time in our day that we spend worrying. So that is the aim of this So there's actually 5 steps, but worry time isn't. But plan your worry time is one. So that's going to be the time of day whenever you're setting aside to worry. Then you've got to write down your worries throughout the day. Whenever they come to your head, you're writing them down. You're classifying your worries, so if they're hypothetical or if they're practical. You're going to refocus your mind then until your worry time at step 5. Okay, so I'm going to go through these I'm going to go through each step so that you get a really good understanding of what worry time is. But it is really simple, so just consider it and give it a go. So step 1, so it's planning your worry time. So each day you're going to plan a time for yourself to worry in and consider how long you feel is an acceptable time period for you. So try to make it the same time every day. So if you find that, most people find that it's better in the evening because they're probably worrying all day and then they can set it aside in the evening when they have more time. But other people might do it first thing in the morning. It's important just that it's the same time every day. So for example, you choose worry period at 7 p.m. And you decide that you're going to worry for 20 minutes. It's really important. 20 minutes is a good time. Most people start off with 30 minutes. You'll find that if you're worrying all day, you'll have a lot of worries to get through in 30 minutes. So that there is the time that most people will start off with. And usually it's around 6 or 7 that people would do it. You don't want it too close to bedtime because people then find that it's harder then to stop worrying. But definitely kind of before you settle down for the evening, maybe to watch TV or something, 7 o'clock for 30 minutes is a really good time. But it's up to you with your schedule. So whatever time works for you. However, this should be a time that you set aside just for yourself to worry, and you shouldn't be doing anything else during this time. So ensure that any potential distractions are reduced. So for example, make sure that others are aware that they shouldn't bother you during this time, or that the phone is turned to answer phone or anything like that. So it's just a time for you and your worry diary or the page that you have with all your worries on it. That's what this time is for. So you don't want anything else going on around you. So that's important for that. And it's really good as well, maybe 5 minutes before, just to get yourself up sorted for it, because you want that whole half an hour for that time, because otherwise people will be like, oh, I didn't have that 5 minutes at the start, so I'll let it leak 5 minutes over. No, when it's only half an hour. It's from the time that it starts to the time that it ends. No leaking over or anything. You're just worrying for that amount of time. So step 2, write down your worries. So when you notice you're worrying outside of your planned worry time, you write down your worry, and you can write it on a worry list, knowing that you can worry as much about it as you like in your planned worry time. So try and record them as they come up, as they go through your head. Record them in the moment. It could be in a worry diary. That's what a lot of people start to keep for themselves. It could just be on a page. It could be in your phone, on a tablet, anything like that. Just record them as they come up, so that you then know that they're there for worry time later. So whatever way you record them suits you is fine, as long as you record them. So what you're saying to yourself is, you're lying in bed and all these worries are starting to come to your head. You get your page and your pen, which you would be keeping beside your bed, and you write them down, and you say to yourself, right, look, I know that I'm worried about this now, but I'm leaving it until tomorrow to my half an hour worry time at 7 o'clock. That is what I'm going to do for myself, because right now it's no use to me. I'm not getting any sleep, so I'm just going to leave that there for tomorrow. So I know that sounds easier said than done, but I'm going to go through that now. So step 3 is classify your worries. So when you've recorded a worry in your worry diary, the next step is to classify what they are. So are they the practical worries that have a practical solution? So like I said, God, I'm really worried. I have a toothache and it's actually really sore, and I'm worried about my teeth. So that's a practical. Phone the dentist. So you'll be able to see whenever you write that down, that's something I can actually do something about right now. or the hypothetical worries that are about the future and that are out of your control. So are they something that you actually can't do anything about and you've got no solution for? So that's the two types of worries that you want to classify them. And once you start to learn the difference between the way that you worry and how you think about things, you'll be able to control it better. So here's a wee diagram. I'll put this on the sheets for later. But so this is a way to get you to look at whether it's something you can do something now. So is it something I can do something about now? No. So use worry time to help that go. So this is what it's saying. This is a hypothetical worry. So here's a few examples. So what about if the plane crashes? Or what about if my partner falls out of love with me? Or what about if my friends don't like me? These are all hypothetical worries. Or is it something that I can do something about now? Yes, it is. So make a plan to do it. What's stopping me from doing it? So example, I haven't paid the gas bill, or what about if the knocking sound from the car means trouble? This is something that you can do now. So why don't you do something about it now so that you can stop worrying? So that's problem solving. So that's not worry time, that's problem solving. So be proactive about it. And just writing it down and seeing that it's a practical worry and it's something you can do about will actually encourage you to be like, right, well, do you know what? I'm going to go and do something about this now because I know the solution to this. So I'm going to go and do it to help myself. So here's an example of a worry diary that people are using to record stuff. So this person has wrote the situation. So I was watching TV in the evening with Mark, and the worry came to their head. So what about if something bad happens to Mark tomorrow? So they've actually as well marked how anxious they feel from 0 to 100. And they said this made them feel 80% anxious. So if you think back to that fight or flight that I was on about, they were probably experiencing a lot of that at that time. So a lot of those symptoms, that was really overwhelming for them, and it would have been very draining. But as I said, they've classified this into a H. So a hypothetical worry, they've said that this is. And they know that this is something that they can't do anything about. And it's just something, an intrusive thought that's came to their head and that they are worried about. So then the next one was they were lying in bed and they had this, I have pain in one of my teeth, like we spoke about. And they said that this made them 60% worried. So they were saying that they were worried about this pain in their teeth. And they said that this is a practical worry, like we said, something that they can do something about. So for this person, what they would have done is said, right, well, do you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to book an appointment with the dentist, because obviously lying in bed at night, there's nothing that they can do then. But they know tomorrow morning when they wake up, they can book an appointment with the dentist. So then the next one was doing the laundry, and they just had the thought, what about if the washing machine breaks? And this was 60%. So this, they've said, is a hypothetical worry. As you can see here, they've ticked under H because this is future thinking. They had no indication that the washing machine was going to break. They just got worried that it was going to break. And that could be linked with financial. It could just be linked with the machine, or worry about the machine breaking. But it's something that they just thought was going to break and they got worried about. So that's another hypothetical. So this is a really good example of a worry diary, because it lets them see as well the situation that they're in. So say, for example, someone else might have the news. So they were watching the news and they got worried about the health or their health or coronavirus or their family's health. And this made them feel 80%. Actually thinking about this from someone who doesn't have it, who is doing everything that they can not to get it, this is a hypothetical worry for them. But then they can see a pattern that when they're watching the TV, they're getting really worried about something. So they know this is actually, there's something practical I can do about this, sort of, because I can stop watching the TV. If that's making you feel anxious, if that's making you worry, if that's really leading to these really high anxiety situations for you, then stop doing the thing that's making you really worry. So I know I've said now what you're going to say to yourself is, I'm going to forget about this now because I have time to worry about it later. This is easier said than done, as I've said, but it's important during this time then that you refocus. So bring yourself back to the present. What you're doing when you're worrying is you're worrying way into the future about things that you can't control. So what you want to do is bring yourself back to the present. Concentrate on what is going on around you now. So what you want to do is pay attention to whatever task you're doing when the worry came into your mind. So you're concentrating on your senses. This is one way that you can bring yourself back to the present. So say you're concentrating on your sight, your hearing, your smell, your touch, and your taste. And this can help you to ground yourself in the present, so bring yourself back to now. So for example, if you're doing something like the washing up, you're focusing on the scent of the washing up liquid that you're using, the bubbles, the temperature of the water, the sounds that's going on around you, anything like that there. Well, there's other ways to refocus, might be to engage in a different task. So I know for a lot of people, music is really important to them, and music can be a really good thing to bring people back to now. So a lot of people who I've worked with, if they say that something's worrying them. So say for example, a worry comes to their head and they are watching the TV, they'll turn off the TV and they'll go and they'll listen to their music. So what's the artist, what's the song called, what's the lyrics about, how is this music making me feel, what's the beat of the music. So really concentrating on things and bringing yourself back to now, what is going on around me, instead of thinking in the future. So you're saying, God, I've caught myself catching in the future and thinking in the future, and I need to bring myself back to now. So that's the technique for bringing yourself back to what's going on actually around you, instead of what might happen in the future. And step 5 is your worry time. So this here is your half an hour period, or it may get less as time goes on, but it's time for you to worry. It's finally time for you to allow yourself to worry. At the start, you might be desperate for this time to come along, but I'm telling you, it does work. So what you're going to do is you're going to get out your list of hypothetical worries that you've written down during the day, and you're going to select one to start from. So a lot of people will have a sheet full, absolutely. Some people draw them, some people write them, you'll have a sheet full. But what you'll do is when you look at that sheet, you're going to realize that there's some there that are actually more important to you than others. So there's some that you're going to look at and you're going to be like, God, well, that was stupid. Why was I thinking that? And you're going to cross them out immediately. And then you're going to realize that there's other ones that are really important to you. And those are going to be the ones. And you're going to ask yourself some questions like this. So are there any of these worries that are no longer a problem or feel silly to me? Which worry stands out the most? Did the things you were worrying about happen? If not, then you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I'm happy that didn't happen, and why was I worrying about that in the first place? So would continuing to worry about it in the day have actually made a difference? Is this worry helping me or hindering me? Will it actually matter in 1 or 5 year time? Why am I spending my whole day worrying about this when it won't actually matter? Is it accurate? Is there a more helpful or positive way I could actually think about this? Why am I thinking so negative? Why am I thinking about the worst case thing that can happen? So these are all questions you're asking yourself. You want to put a load of doubt into your head. That's what you want to do. How can I make my thinking better? How can I think more positive? And you'll find that as you do this, it becomes a lot easier for you to manage your worries, to shut them down, to make your thinking better. So to really be able to say to yourself, you know, okay, well, I know that's negative thinking and I know I'm thinking in the future, so I'm going to stop that. And yesterday that was on my worry sheet and I looked at it and I thought, God, I was so silly for thinking that. So today I'm automatically going to shut that down. So that's what you're trying to train yourself to think more positively and to use your worry time to do that. So when it's important, whenever your worry time's over, to just stop worrying. It's only for that 30 minutes. That's all you're allowing yourself. You're putting an end to it then. And you might find it helpful then at the end of it to rip up and destroy the list or to cross out your page or to scribble everything out and start fresh the next day. It's very therapeutic for some people because they get rid of their worries. That's what they're doing. They're throwing away their worries when they throw out the page. So eventually, as I said, you'll be able to manage your worries better and you'll be able to use less time than you originally thought each evening to worry. So it might eventually go down to 20 minutes or to 10 minutes and eventually you'll be able to do it automatically in your head and you'll have none of that worry time at all. So in summary, worrying is completely normal and you need to learn to control it and to not let it control you. There are them two types of worries, so you have your practical and your hypothetical, and it's important to know the difference so you can deal with them properly. So using worry time will help you feel less stressed and anxious, help you control your thinking, improve your sleep, and bring you back to the present, so through that refocusing. Stick with the same time every day for no longer than 30 minutes, make it part of your routine, And when you're ready to reduce your worry time, go for it. So if you find you're sitting there doing nothing for a lot of your worry time, you can reduce it as you feel the need. So that's all I have to say. Hopefully I haven't made you worry too much.